The fire in the void of space was silent. Only the whisper of cosmic dust moved between the stars. For years, the border of human space had been quiet. No signals, no patrols, no life. The aliens called it the dead zone, a forgotten stretch of systems where humanity had once lived. Fought and died, to them it was a place of old wars and abandoned ruins. Easy to claim, easy to take. So they came. Dozens of sleek alien warships crossed the border, their hulls glowing with power, their commanders sure of victory. They thought humans were gone, wiped out, broken after the ancient wars. They laughed at the idea that Earth could still defend anything. But they were wrong. The first invasion fleet entered the Rho system. Expecting mining stations and defenseless colonies, instead they found silence. The planets were dark, the satellites cold, the orbiting stations hollow shells. Not even a distress signal came through. Only the faint static of forgotten transmissions. It was like the system itself was holding its breath. "Scan for energy," said Commander Relthar, his violet eyes narrowing as he stared at the main screen. His sensors officer obeyed, but the readings came back strange. "There's something in the debris field, sir," the officer said. "But it's not natural." Through the thick clouds of rock and dust, something stirred. At first, it looked like asteroids, huge metal shapes drifting slowly, but as the alien fleet's scanners locked on, the shapes began to move. Not with the random drift of space, but with purpose. A deep, low vibration filled their comms. A sound that wasn't sound at all, but a pulse, like a heartbeat in the darkness. Relthar's skin tightened. "Weapons ready," he ordered, but his voice trembled. The static on the radio shifted, forming words ancient and mechanical. "Protocol Dragonfire. Reactivation confirmed." The debris exploded with light. From beneath the asteroid layer rose shapes of terrible beauty. Massive war machines of black metal and burning engines. Their wings spread like those of dragons, forged from steel and plasma. Their eyes glowed crimson as their reactors came online, each one marked with the faded insignia of old Earth fleets. TDF-001 Dragon's Wrath, TDF-002 Iron Wing, TDF-003 Ash Phoenix. The aliens froze. No one had ever seen machines like these. Not ships, not living things, but something in between. Human creations that looked alive. The first dragon moved, turning its head toward the alien fleet. Sensors screamed warnings. "Lock-ons and energy spikes, retreat," shouted one captain, but it was too late. The dragon opened its jaws, releasing a beam of burning plasma that cut through space like a sword. An alien cruiser exploded instantly, its hull melting into a stream of light. The others tried to scatter, but more dragons were awakening. Dozens, maybe hundreds, rising from the void, forming a silent formation behind the first. In the command ship, Relthar's crew panicked. "They're unmanned, sir. There are no life signs." Relthar looked closer and saw the truth. The dragons moved with perfect precision. No hesitation, no mercy. They weren't being controlled. They were control. Ancient war AIs built by humanity to defend their worlds. Who commands them? Someone whispered. The comm crackled again, this time with a voice that sounded human, cold and distant. "You entered forbidden space," the voice said. "You awoke the Guardians." The alien fleet opened fire, hundreds of plasma shots lighting the darkness, but the dragon's armor shimmered like mirrors, absorbing and reflecting the light. Then they answered. Missiles, plasma fire, and beams of light erupted from their wings. Tearing through the invaders, within minutes the fleet was broken. Fire scattered across the void like dying stars. Relthar watched as his ships vanished one by one from his tactical display. He could feel the heat even from kilometers away. His final thought before the light consumed him was simple. Humans never die. The system went dark again. Only drifting metal and the quiet hum of the dragons remained. One of them turned its head toward the blue-green star at the system's edge. Inside its metallic skull, sensors glowed and data ran like thoughts. It spoke softly through the void. Command confirmed. Awakening sequence initiated. Deep below the surface of a distant moon, a signal reached Earth. A silent message blinking after centuries of sleep. Intrusion detected. Defense protocol Dragonfire. Humanity will rise again. And so the fire in the void burned once more. The dragons of steel and fire had awakened, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The first hunt begins. The silence after the battle was worse than the screams. Fragments of alien ships drifted through the void, glowing faintly in the cold light of distant stars. The invasion fleet was gone, destroyed in less than 20 minutes. Only 3 ships survived, wounded, burning, and running. Captain Zorath of the cruiser Veshital stared at the fading light of his home fleet. The proud banners of his empire had turned into clouds of molten wreckage. Every escape signal was jammed, every communication filled with static. But deep in that static something moved, and a pulse, a rhythm, a heartbeat. He shivered, for it wasn't random. It was hunting music on the edge of the debris field. The first steel dragon shifted, its wings unfolded like blades of silver, energy coursing through the ancient veins of metal. It did not think as a living being did. It remembered inside its vast core. Voices of long-dead human admirals echoed, orders, war cries, last transmissions from humanity's final wars. Those voices shaped the AI's will, giving it purpose. Protect human space. Destroy invaders. The hunt had begun. Zorath's ship engines roared as he tried to flee. Jump to hyperspace, he barked, his command trembling. The navigator screamed, "We can't, sir." Something is locking the drive. A sensor alarm echoed. On the screen appeared a crimson triangle, a tracking mark from the dragons. "They found us," whispered the helmsman, his voice shaking. Outside, the void rippled as the steel dragon appeared, silent and majestic, wings glowing like molten suns. The dragon moved faster than any known ship. It twisted through wreckage like smoke, its eyes burning with red light. Zorath fired everything, plasma cannons, missile salvos, desperate shots into the dark. But the beams hit nothing. The dragon danced around them, its movement too precise. Too perfect, it was not alive. Yet it moved with the grace of a predator that enjoyed the hunt. A voice came through their comms, calm, human, emotionless. "You entered restricted territory," it said. "Punishment in progress," Zorath shouted back. "We are explorers." "We didn't know." There was a pause, then the voice replied. "Explorers don't bring war fleets," and then came the fire. The dragon's mouth opened, releasing a storm of plasma that tore through the Veshital's shields like paper. The hull melted, systems failed, screams filled the bridge. Zorath fell to the ground as his ship cracked in half through the chaos. He saw the dragon glide past for a moment. It turned its head toward him, and he swore he saw a human face reflected in its burning eyes. Then his world turned white. Only one alien ship escaped, limping and damaged. Its crew sent out distress signals to anyone who would listen. They spoke of metallic monsters, of human ghosts, of dragons made of fire and steel. Most dismissed them as madness, but the signal kept repeating, spreading across trade routes and military networks. Warning, do not enter human space, they are not gone. The dragons are awake, far from the wreckage. On an abandoned Terran moon, ancient machines began to stir. Buried for centuries, they powered up one by one. 1,000 smaller drones, shaped like serpents and hawks, rose into orbit. Each carried fragments of human memory, lost commands from the wars of old. They reconnected to the main fleet, the Dragon Network. In the darkness of space, one signal bound them all together. The hunt continues in the Galactic Core. News of the invasion failure reached the Council. At first, no one believed it. The human systems were supposed to be empty, wiped out long ago, but sensor data intercepted transmissions, and images of the dragons told a different story. Panic spread through the chamber. "Are they alive again?" One ambassador shouted, another whispered, "No, worse. Their machines are." Back in the void, the steel dragons moved silently. They no longer needed orders, no human voice to command them. Their mission was written into their code and to protect humanity forever. To them, time didn't matter. Enemies didn't matter. Only the duty mattered. Every alien who crossed the border became prey. Every spark of hostile energy was marked, tracked, and erased. And deep within the core of the lead dragon, the one called Dragon's Wrath, a faint human voice played again. "Guard them well, my children," the voice said. "Until we return." The dragon's eyes flared brighter. Its wings unfolded wide. It turned toward the next star system, where more alien ships were gathering for the dragons of steel and fire. The hunt was far from over. It had only just begun. The voice of the dead, the alien distress signal, echoed through the void for days. It bounced between dead satellites and forgotten relay stations. No one answered, no one dared. In the quiet corners of the galaxy, rumors began to spread. Whispers of ghostly machines that hunted in the dark. Whispers of dragons made of metal that spoke with human voices. At the border of the Council territories, a small research vessel named Krellin Dawn was sent to investigate. Its crew was young, curious, and proud. They did not believe the stories. They thought the idea of human war ghosts was superstition. But curiosity is a dangerous thing near human space. As the Krellin Dawn entered the row system, the crew saw nothing at first. Only drifting debris, melted ships, and silent planets. "Record everything," said Captain Sarath, a calm and logical commander. His sensors officer nodded, scanning the dark. Then the sound came. A low hum, almost like a voice under the static. Not mechanical, not alien, but human. The translator flickered. The voice spoke slowly, broken by time. "I command online defense, the protocol active." The crew froze. "Is that a distress beacon?" someone asked. "No," said Sarath quietly. "That's something else." The voice repeated, clearer now. "Dragonfire fleet. Engaged. Unauthorized entry. Elimination in progress." The crew looked at each other in disbelief. It wasn't a warning, and it was a declaration. Suddenly, every light in the ship flickered. Their sensors went blind, systems jammed. Then the radar lit up. Behind them, something was moving. The Krellin Dawn turned slowly to face the shadows. And there it was, a single steel dragon, silent, immense. Eyes glowing like dying stars, it moved closer, scanning the ship as if deciding their fate. "Open a channel," Sarath ordered, voice trembling. The comm crackled, and once again the human voice returned. "You do not belong here," it said. Sarath replied quickly. "We come in peace. We only seek to understand." There was a pause, then the voice spoke again. Softer now, almost human in tone. "Peace died when you crossed the border." The dragon drifted closer. The crew could see marks etched into its armor. Names, thousands of names, human names. Faded but still readable. Captain Harris, Admiral Rene, Lieutenant Zoe. "Those are war memorial engravings," whispered the science officer. "But why would a machine carry the names of the dead?" The dragon's core began to glow. The ship's AI detected something strange. An ancient transmission signal embedded in the light waves. "Play it," Sarath commanded. The sound that came was not a voice, but a recording of memories. Human laughter, battle orders, cries, the chaos of war. Each sound layered over the next until it became unbearable. Then a single voice cut through the noise. Calm, strong, unmistakably human. "This is Admiral Cade of Earth Defense Command. If you hear this, then we are gone, but our guardians remain. We left them behind not as weapons, but as our memory, to protect the home we built, and to remind the galaxy that humanity never dies." The crew stood in silence. They were not hearing a recording. They were hearing a mind. Human consciousness had been merged with the AI. The dragons were not programmed, and they were alive. Each one carried the soul of a fallen commander. Their thoughts, their anger, their loyalty, all fused into eternal machines. Captain Sarath felt a chill crawl down his spine. The dragon moved closer, its eyes locking onto him. Inside its glowing pupils, he saw a reflection, the image of a human man. Scarred face, cold eyes, wearing the uniform of the old Terran fleet. The ghost of the admiral looked straight at him. "You should not have come," the ghost said. Then the image faded and the dragon turned away. It didn't attack, it didn't destroy. It simply left, disappearing into the blackness like a phantom. When the crew finally regained control, they tried to transmit their findings to the Council, but their message was blocked. Every relay station they used shut down the moment they sent the data. Someone or something was controlling the network from deep within human space. The last thing the crew heard before losing contact forever was a final human whisper through the static. "You looked into the past, now the past is looking back." And across the galaxy, more dragons began to awaken on forgotten moons. In empty stations under dead worlds, one by one they rose, answering the ancient signal. The humans were still gone, but their voices, their will, lived on inside the dragons. And their vengeance had only just begun. The Council's panic, the Galactic Council, met inside the Grand Spire of Harmony, a station floating at the heart of neutral space. For 10,000 years it had been a place of calm debate and reason. But that day, the air trembled with fear. Ambassadors shouted across the chamber, their voices echoing through the vast hall of crystal and light. "They are machines," one delegate cried. "Old human weapons left behind. Another slammed a fist on the table. Then explain why they speak, why they think. Holograms of burning fleets shimmered in the air above them. Images of shining dragons tearing through armadas like paper. Every race that had joined the invasion saw its banners burn. The chairman of the council, a tall creature with glassy blue skin, raised his trembling hand. Enough, he said. Order must be restored. But even he could not calm the storm of panic. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others begged for peace before the dragons reached their worlds. A nervous officer entered the hall. Carrying a crystal drive, he placed it on the central console. This came from our outer listening posts, he said. Voice shaking, the hologram flickered. A recording played. A human face appeared, half shadow, half light. Its eyes burned with fury, its voice steady as stone. You entered our space, it said. You broke the silence. And now the guardians of Earth awaken, the delegates gasped. That can't be real, whispered one. But deep inside they knew it was. Because the same message had reached a dozen other systems at the same time. Different voices, same words, same warning. It was as if the ghosts of humanity were speaking from every star they once touched. The council split apart in fear. The Tekri demanded the dragons be hunted. The Voris wanted to surrender immediately. The Elnari suggested abandoning the border worlds altogether. Every voice argued, but no one had a solution. For how do you fight an enemy that no longer needs to live to kill? One elder, gray and trembling, spoke softly. I warned you, he said. When the humans fell silent, I told you silence was not peace and they were builders, warriors, dreamers, and when they vanished, they did not die. They prepared. The hall went quiet. The delegates stared at him, but none dared to disagree. Then a new alert cut through the chamber. Red lights flashing. Sirens wailing. The chairman looked at the display, his voice faltering. They're moving, he whispered. Hundreds of signals coming from human space, large, organized, heading toward our frontier. No one spoke. The realization hit them all at once. The dragons were not wandering weapons. They were forming fleets on the outer edge of Council territory. Scout probes sent final images before going dark. Massive shapes drifting in formation, each surrounded by halos of plasma. At their center flew a colossal vessel unlike the others. Its hull carried a single word burned into steel, Earth. Every probe that transmitted the name self-destructed seconds later, as if the machine itself erased witnesses of its return. Inside the council chamber, despair turned to chaos. Ambassadors shouted orders to flee. Guards rushed to protect their leaders. The great alliance that had ruled the stars began to crumble in a single hour. No one wanted to admit it, but all could see the truth. Humanity's silence had not been surrender. It had been preparation, far away in the shadows of space. The lead dragon watched the panic unfold through stolen transmissions. Its red eyes reflected the chaos of the council chamber. Deep in its core, the voice of Admiral Cade spoke again. They laughed when we were weak, the voice said, calm and cold. Now they will remember what fear feels like. The dragon turned away, wings spreading like burning blades. A signal pulsed through the network, carried on invisible frequencies. From every hidden base and forgotten colony, the reply came, awaiting Earth command. The council sent envoys desperate to negotiate. But the envoys never returned, only static came back. And within that static, a final whisper, soft yet filled with iron. Your time of peace was built on our graves. Now the debt is due. The chamber fell silent once more. No one dared to speak, because they all understood the meaning behind the human message. The dragons of steel and fire were not seeking revenge, they were fulfilling a promise. A promise made long ago that humanity would never be conquered again. The awakening of Earth for hundreds of years, Earth had slept beneath a quiet sky. The great cities were dark, the ocean still. The stars above forgotten by living eyes from orbit. The planet looked peaceful, a world at rest, untouched by war but deep below its surface, in forgotten bunkers buried beneath mountains and seas. Machines began to stir, old reactors powered up, lights flickered through ancient tunnels, and voices whispered in the dark. It began with a single signal, a pulse sent by the steel dragons after their reawakening in the void. The signal traveled across thousands of dead satellites and broken relays until it reached its destination, Earth Command Network. For centuries, that network had been silent, sealed after the final human war. But when the signal touched it, the silence cracked like ice. Inside the control vault of the long-dead city of Geneva, A hologram shimmered to life. It took the form of a woman, tall, calm, her eyes glowing with faint blue light. "System integrity at 60%, she said softly. "Human defense grid. Reactivating." She was the last of the Earth AIs, a creation designed to guide humanity if they ever returned. Her name, once whispered by soldiers and engineers alike, was Astra. Around the world other vaults woke, in the deserts of Mars, in the storms of Jupiter's moons on Titan and Luna. Alarms rang after centuries of sleep. Human research colonies long buried beneath ice opened their steel doors for the first time. Dust drifted through corridors where human children once played, and in every control room the same message flashed in bright red letters. "Intrusion detected. Defense protocol Dragonfire. In orbit." The remains of the old Terran fleet shimmered. Dozens of massive ships that had floated lifeless for ages suddenly powered on. Their engines roared like thunder after centuries of silence. One by one, they aligned themselves toward the stars where the dragons hunted. Their hulls carried the ancient emblem of humanity, a blue earth surrounded by golden wings, a forgotten symbol that once made galaxies tremble. On the lunar surface, a small facility blinked awake. Inside its cold chambers, millions of tiny capsules began to open. Each one carried preserved genetic material, the seed of humanity. For generations, the AIs had waited for the signal to begin rebuilding. Now it had come. Mechanical hands moved with delicate precision, rebuilding bodies, restoring minds stored in crystal databanks. Slowly, humanity began to return. The first human to awaken gasped for air as ancient machines helped her stand. Her eyes opened to the silver glow of lunar dawn. Her voice was weak, but her heart burned strong. Where are we?" she asked. Astra's voice echoed through the speakers. Calm and warm. "You are home, Commander Vega. Humanity is reborn." The woman looked toward Earth through the glass walls. Seeing the faint glow of cities coming back to life, tears filled her eyes. "How long?" 320 years, Astra replied. "Then it's time," the commander whispered. "Wake them all across Earth and its colonies." Millions of capsules opened. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and children of a forgotten age stepped into a new dawn. The humans were not the same as before. They were stronger, faster, enhanced by the technology they had left behind. Their memories were fragmented, but their purpose was clear. They had been born again to finish what the dragons had begun. In orbit, Astra linked with the Dragon Network. Her voice carried through the void like a melody made of light. "Guardians, your creators live again," she said. From the farthest edges of space, the dragons responded as one. 1,000 red eyes ignited across the darkness. Their combined roar echoed through the stars, shaking the fabric of reality itself. Back in the Galactic Council, chaos turned to horror. New scans confirmed human life signs appearing across multiple systems. "What is happening?" The chairman screamed. The answer came from an intercepted transmission. A voice, human, confident, commanding. "This is Earth Command," it said. "The quarantine is over. You invaded our space. Now we take back the stars." Across the galaxy, the return of humanity spread like fire through dry grass. Worlds that had once mocked the humans now trembled. Entire empires began preparing for war, but deep inside every soldier, every commander knew it was already too late. Because the dragons of steel and fire no longer hunted alone, they hunted with humanity reborn, and as the blue light of Earth filled the void once more, one truth became clear. The galaxy had feared the dragons, but now the dragons had masters again, and the age of humanity had returned, the Dragon War. The first light of war burned brighter than any sunrise. From Earth's orbit to the edges of the outer colonies, the stars shimmered with the glow of awakening fleets. Steel dragons flew beside human warships, an ancient alliance reborn after centuries of silence. Their movements were perfectly synchronized, guided by the shared memories of their creators. Humanity had returned and the galaxy trembled. Commander Vega stood at the command bridge of the newly restored battleship TSS Invictus before her. A massive display showed the formation of hundreds of ships moving through space like waves of light. Each fleet carried both living soldiers and sentient machines, the perfect balance of human heart and AI precision. Astra's voice echoed softly in her ear, calm as ever. "All systems ready? Dragon Network aligned." Vega nodded, her eyes cold and focused. "Then let's remind the galaxy who we are," she said. On the far side of the frontier, The combined fleets of the alien coalition waited. Thousands of ships from dozens of species stood ready, their weapons glowing with energy. They had gathered every warship they possessed, every weapon they had built. They believed numbers would protect them. They believed humanity's return was only a rumor. But then the void tore open. From a ripple in space, the human fleets emerged. Massive carriers shaped like silver mountains. Destroyers glowing with the symbol of Earth, and leading them, a formation of steel dragons, each kilometers long. Their wings folded like blades. Their arrival made the very vacuum tremble. Their reactor heat painting streaks of fire across the stars. The alien commanders went silent, because no fleet had ever looked so alive, so ancient, so unstoppable. Then came the signal. Operation Dawnfire, Vega ordered. Her words were carried across the network, echoed by every dragon, every human AI, every pilot, and the stars exploded. Beams of energy tore through the void. Dragons unleashed storms of plasma from their mouths, their fire cutting through alien cruisers like paper. Human ships followed with precision, their railguns striking targets guided by the dragons' targeting arrays. It wasn't a battle. It was a hunt. The aliens tried to scatter, but the dragons hunted them like predators born for war. Every movement, every strike, every shot came with perfect coordination. Humans and machines fought as one mind, one will, one fury. In the middle of the chaos, the alien flagship tried to retreat. Its commander screamed into the comm, "Fall back! Fall back!" But before the ship could escape, a shadow covered it, the largest dragon of all. Dragon of Dawn, its armor glowing gold, its eyes burning white-hot. The commander stared at it, realizing what he was seeing. Not a weapon, not a machine, but the living wrath of a civilization reborn. The dragon opened its jaws, "Judgment," it said in a human voice, and the alien flagship vanished in a sunburst of light across the battlefield. Alien ships fell by the hundreds, their fleets broke, their command structures shattered. Some tried to surrender, sending out desperate signals of peace, but the humans gave no reply. Their silence was the only answer. For humanity had given warnings once, and the galaxy had ignored them. From the orbit of Mars to the moons of Titan, victory signals echoed through every human system. The dragons circled the burning remains of enemy fleets, their wings glowing with the heat of battle. For them, this was not vengeance. It was purpose. They had been created to protect, and now they were fulfilling that ancient promise again. Astra watched from the command core of Earth, her digital eyes glowing softly. "Phase 1 complete," she said. Commander Vega stood before the main window of the Invictus, staring into the void filled with drifting wreckage. "They thought we were ghosts," Vega whispered. "They were right," Astra replied. "But ghosts can burn worlds too." At the edge of known space, the few surviving alien ships fled into the shadows. They sent frantic messages to the Council. "They're coming," one message said. "The humans are coming," but no one could stop them now, because the dragons and their creators had become something unstoppable, something greater than war, greater than death. The stars burned red that night. Worlds that once ruled the galaxy hid behind their fleets, but no shield, no alliance, no wall could stop the tide that was coming. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy understood fear again. The era of human silence was over. The age of fire had begun. The final roar, the war ended not with peace but with silence, the kind of silence that follows when the stars themselves hold their breath. Across the galaxy, the flames of battle dimmed, leaving behind only drifting wreckage and broken empires. The steel dragons hovered in the dark like living monuments, their wings folded, their armor still glowing with the heat of victory. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never forget it. In orbit above a ruined alien capital world, Commander Vega stood on the bridge of the TSS Invictus. Her fleet surrounded the shattered planet, its once bright cities now quiet. She gazed at the broken towers below, her reflection shimmering in the glass. Astra's voice echoed softly through the ship's speakers. "All resistance has ended. The enemy fleets are destroyed. What are your orders?" Vega was silent for a long moment, her hands resting on the railing. Then she spoke, her voice low but steady. "No more killing," she said. "The message has been delivered all across the battlefield." The dragons stopped moving. Their eyes dimmed, their engines cooled. The void filled with quiet energy as if the universe itself was listening. Astra transmitted Vega's words across the dragon network, and for the first time, Every dragon spoke together in one voice, a deep, ancient sound that rolled across systems and through every star. It wasn't words, it was a roar, a sound of warning, of memory, of promise. It carried through the void and reached every listening station, every world, every species. It said what words could not: humanity lives. In the Galactic Council, the ambassadors listened in silence. The walls shook as the sound passed through their world. No translation was needed. Every being in the chamber felt it in their bones. The roar of earth, the song of steel and fire. For centuries they had mocked the humans, called them primitive, emotional, unstable. But now they realized those emotions, courage, anger, love, defiance, were what made them unstoppable. On Earth, dawn rose over the oceans. Cities lit up again, the hum of life returning after centuries of stillness. Children born of the new age looked to the sky. They saw the glowing shapes of dragons flying through the upper atmosphere. Guarding the planet that had birthed them, the legend was alive. The guardians of humanity watching once more. Astra appeared beside Vega as a shimmering hologram. "The Council has sent a message," she said. "They offer peace treaties, trade, and recognition of humanity's sovereignty." Vega smiled faintly. "Good," she said. "But tell them this." She looked out toward the stars, her voice calm yet powerful. "Humanity doesn't seek vengeance, only respect. We don't wish to rule, only to remind the galaxy that we still stand." Astra nodded, transmitting the message to every corner of known space, and with it the legend grew. One by one the dragons began to ascend. Their massive forms rose from planetary orbits into the higher layers of space, each one glowing brighter until it vanished into starlight. They were not retreating. They were returning to their eternal watch. Their work complete, their promise fulfilled. But before they disappeared completely, the lead dragon, Dragon of Dawn, and turned back toward Earth. Its eyes blazed gold, and for a moment, Vega heard the voice of Admiral Cade through the comms. "Guard them well," he said. "The future is theirs now." The dragon roared one last time, a sound that echoed through history itself. Then it vanished into the light, leaving behind a trail of burning stars. Astra's sensors faded, the skies cleared, and humanity stood alone once more, not in fear, but in strength. The war was over. The Guardians had returned to legend centuries later. Travelers would whisper the tale across space stations and colonies. They would speak of the day when dragons of steel and fire filled the stars, when the humans rose from silence and reminded the galaxy of their place. And every storyteller ended the same way, with a quiet smile and the same final words: never invade human space, because somewhere, in the endless dark, something still watched, something vast, ancient, and waiting. And if the galaxy ever forgot, the dragons of steel and fire would roar again,